from people like Zen. What happens in para-virtualization is, over there, the guest operating system is aware of who the host operating system is, and they share some libraries. And because they are sharing some libraries, the overhead of the guest is lesser, and you can run more number of guests on the same host platform with the same resources. And better than that is container virtualization. The biggest example of container virtualization happens to be my favorite LXC, Linux containers. Here what happens is, the downside of this is, let me focus on the downside. The downside of LXC is it will run only Linux. It will not run Windows or Linux for you. It would be running the same OS, but it can run a variety of distribution. But what happens is it uses the same kernel. While it uses the same kernel, all the application libraries are installed inside this. So there's a system container wherein the whole system is inside a virtual environment except the kernel. So now in a host in which you could have, say, 5 fully virtualized machines using VirtualBox, you can now have 15 LXC containers on that. And this has been in the market since I believe around 2010-11. Before that, there were some other solutions from third-party providers, but LXC got integrated in the Linux kernel somewhere around that time. And I happen to be one of the early starters using LXC in my own solution. And somewhere around 2014, something wonderful happened. People wanted more, they'll want more, right? So what people wanted is, what if, instead of sharing just the kernel, what if we also share all the different libraries and we virtualize only the application? And then came the birth of Docker. Am I clear so far? Can I get a yes? Wonderful, great. You can bookmark this page, docker.com. You want to install Docker. I'll not get into installation because, again, that will take a lot of time. I'll be focusing more on what majority of wanted. We'll focus on practicals, right? So if in case you have not installed Docker, this is from where you install Docker. Simply go to this page, Google Docker install how to. You'll definitely enter into this page, and you can install it for Linux. You can install it on Mac OS. You can install on Windows, right? You can install it in any platform. And once you have installed Docker, you can begin with Docker, right? So what is Docker? Maybe I'll not get into much of theory. You'll get a lot of knowledge from a lot of places on the net. As we discussed, we'll focus on the practical, but in brief, Docker is an open source platform that enables creation and deployment of application side software containers. You know, it has created a revolution for developers. Previously, I'll tell you what used to happen. Previously, in the development cycle of software, the developers used to give a system requirement to the system admin. So I'm talking about pre-Docker era. And the system admins, they used to install a hardware machine with the requirements, libraries. Then they used to take the code from the developers and used to deploy it. So the developers' system is ready. They start coding and deploying and checking. Now they need to create another system for whom? For the testers. Same process of installing the same requirement on a different piece of hardware. One component goes missing, a big problem. You can't move forward, right? So they had a very good documentation, checklist, tick, 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 this installed, all installed. Yes, now application is working. So that is what used to happen. And then after testing again, the staging UAT platform and finally production, same rigorous process. And it was big headache for the system admins, trust me on that. And this is where Docker created a revolution. Here what happened is the whole configuration gets inside a file, which is called a Docker file. And you run that Docker file anywhere, it's the same. There's no difference at all. You create an image, you deploy that image anywhere, any kind of platform, Mac, Windows, Linux, AWS, GCP, anywhere, that Docker image will run the same. No difference at all. This was the kind of revolution that Docker brought in for developers, and this enabled whole grade of automation, which got in. We are talking about another field called DevOps. That's not the subject of this, maybe another webinar for that. But this is the kind of stuff that Docker brought. Am I clear so far? Am I going fast? Yes or no? Yes or no? I'm not going fast. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So before starting the practical, I'd like to clear a few myths. People think that Docker is only for large scale applications. My dear friends, that's absolutely wrong. Docker, you can use for something as simple as a WordPress website, right? But again, at the same point of time, you can use it for large enterprise applications with hundreds of microservices. But again, it's not true that it is meant only for large applications. You can run a small HTML website also, and I've done that actually. People wanted some demo websites running. I put the HTML code inside the Docker image, give it to them. That's it. People think that Docker is only for Linux, or rather it works only on Linux. No, my friends. It will work on Windows also. Your favorite operating system, many people's favorite operating system, not mine. My favorite is Linux. And it will run on Mac OS also. It will run on any OS, right? People think that Docker is same as VM. I think I've clarified that doubt in the previous slide. It's not same as VM, it's different, and it's much better than a fully virtualized VM platform. And few people think that Docker is tough. In fact, in my own office, I have met people who are a little shy of learning Docker because they think that it is tough. Let me assure you, it's not tough. It's very easy. Yeah. So I'll not get into rest of theory. I think we'll get into some practicals. Let me share my terminal. So what do I have here in the slides, which I'm skipping? Key benefits, all those things you'll get everywhere else. Okay. Getting started, install Docker. Yes, I'll do all that. Key concepts. Yeah, this I'd like to focus on. So when you start working on Docker, few terminologies you need to be very clear about. Number one is, maybe I'll first focus on images. So by images, we mean pre-built Docker images. It could be built by some other developer and hosted somewhere. It can be done by you also and you host it somewhere. So that's the image for you, which can be deployed in a Docker environment. That's the image. And from the image, what will happen? You'll create container. Container is the running application that you'll build, the running service that comes into picture on any hosted platform on the cloud anywhere. So what runs finally from the image is called a container. From one image, you can run n number of containers. So that is container is the virtual server that is in action, running live, right? And you'll come across another wonderful term called Docker file. Docker file is a configuration file by which you create a new image, right? So normally for most of the images, people use some base image. How to build a base image, that's beyond the scope of this talk. But yeah, to start with, we'll take a base image which is available in Docker Hub. Docker Hub. And Docker Hub is a public repository, is the most popular repository wherein you search for anything. You search for MySQL, you search for PostgreSQL, you search for Node, Python, WordPress, anything, Drupal. Most of the applications that you might have heard of, which are open source, you get over that. You even get .NET Docker, right? If people who work on .NET, for that also you have a Docker image available at Docker Hub, also at other sites also. So Docker Hub now is not the only, the repository for sharing the Docker images. There are quite a few, but yeah, this is the most popular one. Yep. So these I wanted you to be little clear about, and we'll get into action now. Yep. So if you have Docker installed, and I'm sure most of you might be having Docker installed, that's why you are here. So one of the most popular command to check whether you have Docker installed or not, docker, Docker, not caps, docker, Docker, ps. When you see some output, you know that yes, Docker is installed, right? Docker ps shows the running container. What if I want to look at even the exited containers? Docker ps -a. Okay. Chalo, we want to see something running. So Suppose I want to install Nginx. What do we do? What do we do? We want to go to Docker Hub. You can go to Docker Hub, look for whatever you want. You want WordPress, you'll get WordPress. Right. You want simple Nginx web server, Nginx for you. Okay, let's have a look. So, interesting page, overview, okay, maintained by, okay. But here, it might have most of the, the images might have some detail on how to install it, how to use it. But very important here is, very interesting here is tags. So tags you can consider as different versions that's available in the particular repository for you. So you might have, these are different, and how to install that Docker pull Nginx, mainline, XYZ, whichever version you want. So what I'll do is, I'll just do say Docker pull Nginx. It's there with me. Let me look at Docker images. What are the images I have right now? I have Nginx with me, and I also have a couple of versions of Node. I downloaded it before the webinar started, just for making sure that we don't waste much time downloading. Now, what will happen with this image? I want to run it. How do I run it? Simple command, my dear friends. Docker run Nginx. It started. And how do I see that it is running? Let me go to a different terminal and give the command Docker PS. Yes, it is there. But how do I access it? It shows that it is running on port 80. But if I go to my local host port 80, let me have a look. Local host port 80. Not working. So what's missing out here, dear friends, is this port 80 that you see, this is inside the application. What we need to do is, we need to map this port with a port on your system, on your laptop, or on the server, wherever you're running, wherever the Docker is running on that system, you need to do some port mapping. So let us cancel this. And another thing that I observe is name. We'll come into that a little later. Let me go back here. Cancel this. Let us do some kind of port Docker run. How do I do port mapping? Very simple. Port starts with P. So minus P. What port I want to expose on my local host? 80, 80 or 80, 81. Any favorite port for anybody? Please suggest some port on which you want to run it. So I want to use a random port. I see that somebody has promptly suggested 8089. Be it. So be it. 8089. Now this 8089 on my local system, I want to map that into port 80 inside Docker. This is what I want to do, and it's running. Now let me see. Localhost 8089. There you are. Welcome to Nginx. And this is coming from inside the Docker. The service is running inside that Docker container. And I was telling you that from the same image, I can run multiple containers. Let's try one more thing. I'll go to another window. Docker run, same thing, minus P. We'll use a different port now, 8090C. But this should be going where? It should go inside port 80 of Nginx. I want to create an image from Nginx. I want to run this image, and I want to do this port mapping. So now let's see. Instead of 89, here we have 90. Again, there you are. Any doubt? If there is any doubt, let me do one thing. Let me do Control C. page not found. So it was actually, let me try 8089. You see that? Let me do Control C for that terminal also and refresh that page. There you are. Refresh, site not found. So this was the first demo, first example for you. I hope you're gaining confidence. Yes. Can I have it on the chat box? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy that you're enjoying and I'm also enjoying. Yes. So moving to the next command. So today morning, actually, I was interacting with one of my colleagues and they were running some Node.js program. And their concern was, how do they test out the same code on different versions of Node? Any suggestion? How do you do that? On the chat box, please. Let me have your suggestion. Hey, Alef, what are you suggesting, man? That you'll install different version on the same laptop? No. Yes, I see a lot of correct answers, and the correct answer is Docker. Yes. So let's test it out. I have a piece of code here, which I downloaded from internet. Simple thing. So what I want to do is, I want this. Forget that. First, let me run a piece of, let me run a container on Node. What Node I already have, so that I don't have to download it. Docker, images, spelling mistake. So what I'll do is, I'll show you another. So make a note of this new syntax that I'm teaching you. Docker run. Here I introduce another flag called IT. IT is for getting into an interactive shell. Okay. So Docker run minus IT node. And I want to have, say, 18. And in interactive mode, what do I want? I want to get into the shell. And my favorite shell is bash, 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 and I am inside bash. And to show you node, node, please correct me if I make any syntax mistake. I'm not a node developer. Node minus version. I hope I'm correct. Oh, yes. This is 18.20 for you. You put your code inside this, do the build, do whatever, test it out. You don't have to install different versions of Node on your laptop. Never again install software on laptop. Any software that you need, use Docker. It makes your life easy, my dear friends. Life becomes very simple. I'll say oversimplified. Now I want to test out another version of Node. So let me test it out. Node 3. What did I do? Control D. I forgot to mention what I want to do with minus IT interactive. I want to open a shell from Baba. I can run anything actually. After this, I can say ls. It has given me the output of ls. But right now, I don't want to do ls. I can even run a node de node -vrsm version. Let me see if it works. I never tried this. Oh, yes, it worked. And I can get into our favorite shell also, bash, bash. There you are. And node version. Yes. So, I see that somebody is putting on chat. How do I get the code inside? Yes, coming to that. You want to put your code inside this. No, you want to build it. Multiple ways of going to heaven, right? Multiple ways of, making your code run inside Docker. So one of the simplest way is you do a volume mount. So pwd. So what we do is Docker run minus IT. Okay, this time I don't want to do minus IT, or I want to do minus IT. Fair enough. Minus IT. My volume starts with which alphabet? V. Very simple. So minus V. And what do you want to mount? I want to mount the current directory. Okay. Or rather, let me be specific. I want to mount this particular directory, which is welcome to copy, paste, or rather, let me copy, paste this whole thing to be very, very specific. So it's always suggested you can give relative path, but to avoid any confusion, I'm not putting the relative path out here. I'm putting the full path. So normally you preferably when you start learning, give the full path, whatever you want to mount. Okay, I want to mount this directory. Where do I want to mount? So inside the Docker container, I want to mount this inside a directory called tmp, and inside that I want to create smtc -apps. So I'm giving a different name so that you're sure that that name previously was not there. It gets created on the fly. I try to do this. Let's have a look what happens. Here you are. So cd, where I try to mount in temp. Let me look at temp. There you are. The SMTP apps got created, and if I look at ls-l, and here you can do nod node. What is that? npm-i. What's the command, man? npm-i. It's happening. npm install is running inside the specific node version that you have, right? You can test out your piece of code on different versions of node Docker images. Check out your code this way. You can do npmi, you can do build, you can do a whole lot of stuff, right? And you can make sure whether or not your code runs on that particular version of Node or Python or whatever programming language that you use, and you can come to a decision. And this becomes very helpful and becomes very important also. You'll have a cybersecurity team in your organization who will come down with a hammer and say, hey, you are running an old version of software, it has bugs, it has this, it has that, upgrade. How do you test it out? This is the way, right? So let's have some more fun. Volume mount is one way, but again, what if somebody says that volume mount is okay, but I want to copy something, so let me remove volume mount. Somebody says that I have a Docker container running and I want to copy something, and say that, what do we do? ls-l. So this time I didn't use volume mount, just to show it to you. There's nothing inside temp, it's empty. Okay. Now still, I want to copy something. How do I copy the file? Let us see. Okay. So how do we copy? First of all, look at what Docker you are running. docker, Docker, ps. Okay. Hey, you know what? This is something Docker does gives interesting name every time you run Docker run. If you don't specify a name, it will give some random name. At times it is interesting, but at times when you are doing some kind of scripting work and all, this becomes a roadblocker wherein you can't predict the name that's going to come. You can actually hard code this name. I'll show you in the next example in a while. But yeah, I'll come into this. Before that, what we want to do, we wanted to copy a piece of code inside. So inside all this Docker image. Just now here I had a look. I'll again run this command ls-l temp. We don't have anything inside temp. We'll try to copy something inside this. I want to copy your code inside this, or maybe you already have volume mounted your code, and maybe you forward something which is not in that particular mount directory. You want to copy extra stuff, or you want to copy. You have done a build. You have done a build inside the Docker image, and that artifact you want to copy it to your system. So copy can be either way. Either your system can be source, it can be target. Docker can be source. The Docker container, I mean to say, that can be source, that can be target also, right? So now let me try to copy. This is the Docker container that I'm running, and I want to copy something. How do I copy? Any Docker command you want. It starts with Docker, docker, Docker. I want to copy cp. So simple. What I want to copy? Copy command is always copy source into target. Same thing follows here. What is my source? My source is webinar. Inside webinar, I have a directory called welcome to Docker. And this I want to copy where? I want to copy to this Docker container. So when we talk about Docker container, you can reference a Docker container by two ways. One is by the name. Another is by the container ID. I hope you can see my cursor. Yes. Yes, on the chat, please. Oh, good. Great. Yes. I'm happy to see that everybody is very, very active. Very good. So now I want to copy here. Let me use the name only. Fair enough. Where do I want to copy? I want to copy this in PMP. I want to create a directory called one, ONE1. And here we go. Something happened. Nothing happened. 1, 2, 3. What's happening? Ah, successfully copied. Okay. My heart actually skipped a beat. What's happening? But I had around 276 MB. It took a while to copy. Nevertheless, let's go back to our old terminal, and I'm running the same command again, same place. It's in front of you. Previously, total was 0, and now I have that one stuff out here. So I can copy from system to Docker. I can copy from Docker to system, either way, right? So as I told you, you can have your code inside Docker, do the build everything. The build will create some artifact and copy to your system. And again, you can create another Docker image, and inside that you can copy the artifacts. Clear? So I'm sure this would have helped clarify some doubt. Can I get a yes again? Sorry, I'm asking for a lot of yes, but I want to make sure that nobody is sleeping. I know nobody will be sleeping at this hour, late evening, and it's a wonderful evening in Bangalore. We had slight drizzling a while back, wonderful weather. Okay, now, coming to little more interesting stuff. We learned how to do build, but people might say, hey, I want to create a Docker image with my code inside. What do we do? $1,000,000 question. Not actually $1,000,000. It's very simple. What you need is something called as a Docker file. So let me see. I think I have my VS Code open somewhere. Yes. So Docker file is the same program which I showed you over there. So by Docker file, this is what a Docker file looks like. Let me explain this to you. So Docker file, what happens is that the first line defines you want to build this Docker image from what base image. This base image can be something available on Docker Hub. It can be something that you have created. It can be either, it can be anything. That base image should be available. Your system should be able to download that base image. Okay. So I want to use Node. Node is the software, and after colon is the tag. I want to use version 18-Alpine that's available in Docker Hub. If you don't specify the registry name, so the repo where it is hosted, technically it is called registry. Okay. If you don't specify registry, by default, it assumes that it is Docker Hub. Right? Next line is, what is your work directory inside that Docker container? So now this particular thing is going to create a Docker image, and finally, eventually, that Docker image would be running as a container. So which would be the default directory /app. I can change this app to anything, your favorite name, your girlfriend's name, whatever you want, right? And then you copy, you do whatever copy business that you want. So now you want to have your code get inside. You want to have the minimal stuff going inside that Docker image for you to build. So I copy package.json. Then I copy the source also. I copy public also, right? And then these are the commands that developers typically run. npm install something. I think service another module library on Node which needs to be installed to serve the build package. Npm run build. This is going to create some artifacts, and then after doing all that, you can remove all the clutter. We want to optimize our Docker image size that's going to get created, right? So you remove the clutter that you don't need, and then I want that to listen to a port. So the port here is 3000, and then cmd is the final command which is going to run the application. So people who are Node developers, they can correlate with serve -s build. Build was the artifact that got generated. Now build is, I don't see build anywhere here. There is no build anywhere here. That will get generated when you run all this, right? So this is what a Docker file looks like. And with this Docker file, I can create my own image, and I can actually deploy that anywhere on any of the registries. It can be a public registry, it can be a private registry. right? So let us get going. I'll first show on the command line because I feel that the fundamentals should be clear. Once you know how to do it on command line, you can actually use VS Code. VS Code has the Docker plugin, and using the Docker plugin, you can actually with a breeze, you can do the build. I'll show a demo of that also. So now here I am inside my code, ls-l. The Docker file should be there. So now what happens is Docker file is the default name for any Docker file. It need not be that name. It can be anything. It can be dockerfile.uttam, dockerfile.abcd, but when it is a non-default name, you need to specify the Docker file with a flag -f. Let's try to do something. Let's try to build the image, our first image. And just to verify what all images I have on my system at this point of time. Docker images. I have 3 images right now, just to confirm. Now I'm going to run docker build. I want to build. So the flag is build. build build. Okay. When I build, I can give some name, I can give some tag. So when we want to give a tag starts with what alphabet? T. So -T. And what tag do we want? Any tag. Let me put the tag as one of my favorites. Say, no, I'll not put any names here. -T, my node, my app, app1, my app1. Okay. I can specify the Docker file. I need not do that right now because Docker file is by default. But again, if you don't have a default Docker file name, you want to create from another file, not Docker file, you can specify the file name with -f. Okay. And a dot. What's happening? This is what happened. Something happened. It happened pretty fast. There were 12 steps involved. And if you look at the code here, I think there were 12 commands, right? All this got executed in a jiffy. And now if I again go back to this terminal and if I give Docker images, look, my app1. Okay. Now image to ban gaya, image is there. What do? I want to run it. Okay. How do I run it? We did that with Nginx. Same thing we'll do here. Docker run. Now, flashback. We want to map a port. Which port this application is running on? We spoke about that in the Docker file. Your application that you have compiled, it runs on port 3000. We want to map that onto a local port outside on a laptop. So I need to do that port mapping. Yes. Okay. So -p. Okay. Let me map it onto something non-standard 3030. Okay. And this 3030 on my local system should be mapped to, this can't change because your application is configured to listen on port 3000, right? And what is my image name? My app1. 1, 2, 3. Let's see what happens. Accepting connection at. It says 3000 because this 3000 inside the Docker container, not to be confused, but be very clear. The first port that you have mentioned here, that is the port where you need to fire your browser to. So let us have a look. Localhost, let me change the port. Let me first try 3000 actually, no? 3000, 1, 2, 3, 3000. Not, okay, so what was the port? I mapped 3030. Okay. Let me do 3030. What happens? Where you are. Let's have some more fun. Where is our code? I think these guys have something called app.js and the whole application runs from that. And this, I want to change this test1 to test2. So let me quickly search for where this test1 is. Test1. Ah, here it is. Test2 or test22. So anything for that matter, 222, okay, be happy, 222. I save this. And after saving this, what you have to do? Let me cancel this. I cancel this. And then again, I build this, right? And it'll take a while to build. It's compiling the code because there has been a change in the code. And finally, in a while, we will get the new image, and the test of the whole exercise would be, we want to see that 222 when we run the container. Just wait. In the meanwhile, while this is building, let me go to my other console and show you certain things. What's Docker images? Okay, this is what we have. My app 1. This was done around 3 hours back. Okay, no problem. Docker PS. PS. Okay, nothing. Docker PS -a. Oh my God. So much of clutter, so many exited stuff, and all because I could have given a specific name, then I wouldn't be having so much of clutter. I want to clear this. How do I clear this? Let me walk you through another interesting command. 2 ways, as I told you, multiple ways of reaching your goal. So one way is Docker rm trusting whatever TRU. Because I'm running Linux, I have this autocomplete set. It makes my life easy. I think that got deleted. You'll not find trusting that stuff here. Yes, that got dissipated. This is one way. But again, I have so many. I want to delete everything at one shot. What do I do? Do I do some shell scripting? No, man. Docker has given a very simple command. Docker system prune. I want to prune it, trim it. Docker system prune. What does it do? It will remove all stop containers. So these Docker developers are very kind. They give some warning before executing at times. And all network not used by at least one container. So anything not getting used gets removed. Very good, very good. All dangling images gets removed. Very good. Unused build cache. Say yes. Why? And there we are. We have reclaimed 496. And this is, one of the problems that you might face down the course while you're using Docker. At times, you'll find that your hard disk is getting full. Kya ho gaya? What happened? This is what happened. You have too many of images that you have not been using. You have too many of dangling images. You have so many unused containers, exited containers. You can remove the clutter. There's a command for you. You want to remove the images also? Docker system prune -a. Here, I'll not say yes. I don't want to delete all my images right now. But if you say yes, you delete all your images and everything gets removed and you reclaim all the space on your hard disk that you needed badly. Yes? Can I get a yes? So far, so good. I'm not moving very fast now. Wonderful. Great. So let's look at what's happened here. Oh, yes, my Docker image is ready. And let me look at Docker images, Docker, Docker images. Here I see this got built 2 minutes back. Okay, now we want to run it again. My app 1, same 3030. Let's see what happens. So what did we say? We want to see that 222 instead of this test 01, 222 should come. There you are. We got it. Correct? So, my dear developer friends, it's as simple as this. So, I think we are running short of time. I'm getting heads up, some nudges. Shweta, can I take another 2-3 minutes to show something on VS Code if you don't mind, please?
Sure, sir. No.
Wonderful. Great. So while I try to do that Docker build image and all those using, the command, most of the developers, they love VS Code like anything. I'm not a fan of GUIs. I love command line. But anyway, I need to respect your feelings also, your choice also. Life is all a matter of choice. So now let us change things here. And this time we will use VS Code to do the stuff for me. Okay. So here, 1000. Control S for save. So what I want to do is I want to run a Docker command. And so on VS Code, I find that Shift, Control and P gives me this command option. And I select Docker images. I have installed the Docker extension, by the way, and that helps me with these commands: build image, okay, Docker file, okay, and image name, okay. It's building up the image. So this is now same thing, a different path, not the command line. Your favorite VS Code, which I'm sure a lot of you love, fair enough. And now the result will be same. Yeah, maybe a little bit more of convenience for my developer friends, my DevOps friend. I know my favorite team Mavericks, all of them love command line. So let's wait for a while. VS Code is in action. It's doing the stuff for us the easy way. So no headache for you. Life has become so simple now. You're testing out your favorite code using a Docker file. Due to paucity of time, I want to cover a whole lot of stuff. But again, you can have multi-stage Docker file. You can have Docker Compose. So maybe all those will be for yet another day. We'll just quickly wrap up the demo by showing this particular build and the result, right? Whatever topic you want in the next webinar, do send in your feedback on whatever social media through which you came to know about this. It got over. Press any key to continue. Okay. So now where is my Docker? This is my Docker extension. Okay. In my Docker extension, I'm able to see, okay, the running containers. I can start the containers from here, right click, stop. Okay. Got stopped. And images. So here, what happened is a new image got created. Welcome to Docker. That was the name that we specified. Remember? So since we specified this name, I want to create a container from this. So right click and run. 1, 2, 3, run. Okay. Welcome Docker latest. Here it is there. I want to open in browser. 1, 2, 3. Test 1000. Happy? And now you can have, in this way, you don't need to bother about the command line, the terminal that's my favorite, but may not be your favorite. You can use your favorite VS Code to do the development and, build and deploy on Docker in your local machine. Do the test of UI, do the test of API, whatever, program you have, be it Python, be it Node, be it anything, X, Y, Z, you run it on Docker on your local system, and this is what you do. So I really wanted to cover a whole lot of the other stuff, but again, I'm getting nudges. Sorry, I exceeded time, Shweta, but I loved it and
Yes, sir.
happy to see the responses of everybody out
So
here.
everyone did, sir. I can see the response in the chat and everyone is so engaged.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So here I end it. I stop sharing my screen and over to you, Shweta.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Uttam sir, for guiding us through the Docker's immense capabilities and how it is shaping the future of IT infrastructure. Thank you so much, sir. Your insights have given us a deeper understanding of containerization and how it can revolutionize organizational efficiency. So before we wrap up, we would like to open the floor for the questions. So everyone, please feel free to put your questions in the chat box and we'll get them answered by Uttam sir. Everyone is messaging. Thank you so much, Uttam sir, for the wonderful knowledge.
Thank you. I see that you all enjoyed. Let me confess, I think I enjoyed the most. Seriously.
Yes,
Right.
it was a wonderful session. Guys, if you have any questions, put it in the chat box. We have received one question around how Docker containers be used to distribute and scale Gen AI LLM applications.
Wonderful question. Appreciate. Very good. So it can be any application. you want to scale it. So you need to orchestrate it. For that, you need a tool. And you need a tool like, what does the orchestration? You have tools like Docker Swarm. You have tools like Kubernetes. Those are the tools which will deploy your Docker container for you. And then it can scale from a single container to multiple of containers via a load balancer, and you can scale up your application horizontally. So typically what happens in, you have Amazon sales and all those happening. So typically most of the time, Amazon, Flipkart, they would be running on, say, some specific 10, 20, say, Docker containers. When you have the big mega sale, Diwali sale, Dhamaka sale, whatever, XYZ sale, and when they expect the traffic to increase manifold, they'll scale up their applications also manifold. And for that, they'll be using things like Kubernetes. So that is what you'll do for LLM and any kind of application for that matter. So I hope I answered your question, right?
Yes.
Great.
So we are very limited with the time, sir.
You wanted to have some quiz?
Yes. So we'll now move forward to have a quick quiz, everyone, to recap our key pointers from today's webinar. So let me share the scanner with you, everyone, and to participate, scan the QR code. Just give me a second. Let me share my screen. I hope the scanner is visible to everyone. Everyone, please scan this QR code, and once you have scanned it, fill in the details and we'll begin the quiz. You'll be having 20 seconds for each question to answer.
Any prizes for the winner, Shweta?
Yes. We'll be having some surprise prize who will stand the chance to win.
Sure.
Yes. Guys, please scan the code. We'll be starting the quiz soon. So shall we start? Yeah. We have people are still participating, yes. People are still participating. So we shall wait for 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, so let's begin. I think everyone have scanned and participated. So I'm starting the quiz.
Is this kind of fastest finger first, Shweta?
Okay, so we have the winners here. Okay, I'll stop sharing it. Oh, so sorry, guys, I was on mute. But yes, congratulations to all the winners. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're audible. Loud and
Yes.
clear.
Okay. So we had 3 winners, Rakesh, Yogita, and Raju. So
Wow,
congratulations.
congratulations.
Yeah, but everyone played very well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Great job, everyone. And thank you once again, Uttam sir, for this knowledgeable and engaging session. And thanks to everyone who attended. We hope this webinar provides valuable insights to everyone into Docker and its role in modern IT practices. If you have any further questions or would like to learn about Docker or Skillmine services, feel free to reach out to us. Have a fantastic evening.
And
Thank
lot of thanks to our guests who have come from outside Skillmine. I see a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
So big thank you to all of you for taking out your valuable time and coming here. We
Yes.
look forward to interact with each of you much more in the days to come.
Yes, sir. It takes us to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.